Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kevin, and we're coming to you tonight live from Story Cigars Lounge in the Churchill Lounge with an episode about cigar dinners.
Yeah, so tonight we are going to cover the topic in general, but then we will also be recapping with something more specific later on in the show.
Absolutely. The Story's 2-year cigar anniversary dinner took place this past Saturday night, and it was a fantastic event, Mel. I don't know about you, but I absolutely enjoyed the entire evening.
Yes, so I thought it was a fantastic event. It exceeded my expectations, which were honestly pretty high. And I'm so thankful for everyone who attended and also everyone that helped make it such a success.
Absolutely. From those in attendance to our vendors that we used to help pull off the event. I was pretty in awe of all of those around us and amazed about everything going on. But before we get too far tonight, why don't we go ahead and talk about what we're smoking tonight?
Yeah, so it was only fitting. We are smoking the Stories 2-year anniversary edition cigar that we had at our anniversary party on Saturday, blended specifically for that event. It is a San Andreas and Nicaraguan grown Sumatra barber pole. And it has Nicaraguan Condega binder and Nicaraguan and Condega Jalapa fillers. So
Absolutely. So I'm excited to smoke this one
too.
tonight. I've smoked a few over the last few days. On this, the cold draw is spectacular. It's spicy. It's earthy. It's got a little bit of sweetness because of that barber pole.
Yeah, I am loving. I didn't really cold draw this on Saturday because I didn't really have time. Honestly, I don't even know if I smoked one of these on Saturday because we had so many great cigars there. The cold draw, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did have a Cigar Rebel cigar in the pack at the event. We'll go into a little bit more details later, but everybody got 18 cigars plus a bonus 19th cigar with their ticket purchase. Tickets were about $184, but the cigar pack value was well over $160. So I smoked the Cigar Rebel cigar, and then I smoked several of the McAuliffe cigars. And so Al McAuliffe was there along with their team, and that was a fantastic. Guys, just to say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
To Leslie checking in. Looks like Juan. TDM Alex. Appreciate you guys all being on tonight. It's absolutely going to be a great episode. But before we get too much further, Mel, let's go ahead and light this cigar. And the lighting tonight is brought to you guys by Big Sky Cigar Company.
Back in 1905, under Montana skies, 100 satin factories rolled smoke butterflies. From miners to ranchers, light one and grin. Now Big Sky Cigar is bringing that spirit back in.
Yellowstone River to the bold bighorn flow. Madison, Beirut, Blackfoot, we know. And Lee from Nicaragua, San Andres to the Ecuador rolled up.
And every box soul helps our veterans mend. With warriors and quiet waters, we lend a friend's hand. It's heritage burning in every draw. Big Sky Cigars, Montana's pride and law. Big Sky Cigar, where heritage flows with every draw. Find your river at Big Sky Cigar to pop.
Ask your local tobacconist about Big Sky cigars today. If they do not carry them, shops can reach out to Brad Frazier to set up new accounts.
As always, thank you to Big Sky. Know that we have this open or lit. How is it setting for you?
Yeah, I mean, first couple of draws are excellent. We've had this conversation where it's hard to pull up a whole lot after the first 2 or 3 draws. But definitely in that you get that earthiness. The spiciness is really completely gone. I think it'll pick back up here in a few minutes. But the earthiness, very smooth, a little bit of a rye bread that you're getting from that Indonesian binder and wrapper that's on here. Definitely excited to continue smoking this. I want to drop out and say one thing real quick for our podcast software. Over the last few weeks, we noticed going back and looking at videos that our commercials and stuff is like way louder than the other stuff. It was adjusted down. That's adjusted up. I'm going to have to go correct that. We can no longer adjust the volume in our podcast software for some reason, but going to be correcting that here over the next few weeks. So super excited you guys are on with us tonight. For those who are listening, if you would do us a favor and go ahead and comment #ReplayFam if you're watching us on the replay. For those that are watching live tonight, go ahead and drop into comments what you're smoking. We would love to get your feedback tonight, what you're smoking, what you're pairing, and then throughout the episode. So let's jump right in to tonight's episode, Mel. We're going to be talking about cigar dinners. Really, what are they? How are they? How do they actually work? Who attends? And really how to not be that person that no one wants to sit with. And then really maybe a final thought about, hey, should we do this at home and how to do one at home? As you said before, we jump into a little bit of a recap from Stories event that took place just about 48 hours ago.
Yeah. So we're going to be covering the vibe, the etiquette, the pairings, the flow, and the secret truth about a great cigar dinner is not necessarily about flexing cigars, but about creating a night that everyone is going to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. The right cigar dinners really is not about flexing the cigar. The reality is they are showing up everywhere, from lounges to restaurants to distilleries, private clubs, and even backyard mini dinners, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's 100% true. Some of them are going to be super luxurious, some super casual.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be a perfect combination. You're going to want good food, good people, good cigars, and a pace that honestly is going to be forcing you to slow down a little bit and just enjoy the evening. There's plenty of time for photo ops in there, but a lot of the times, especially if you're doing a dinner, at some point you are just enjoying the cigar, the dinner, and the people.
Yeah, and let's really talk about that with the rebels out there tonight. Let's dive into what a cigar dinner actually is and why people really love them. I love a great cigar dinner. We've been to several, from Fifth Avenue Cigars in Anchorage, Alaska, out to Two Guys in Salem, New Hampshire. This is the second year we've done one here at Stories, and a few other places we've done them. I just thought about, we did 2 of them with Haraz, actually 3 now over the last couple of years with Haraz and Caesars Entertainment out in North Carolina at one of their casinos. And so why do people love them?
Yeah, because the reality is it's not just dinner. It is a curated night. We spend a lot of time planning for the perfect curated night for everyone who is attending. So when people hear the word cigar dinner, they're imagining tuxedos and rare cigars and a guy maybe in a vest explaining the note of roasted chestnuts or sauteed bell peppers.
And sometimes it really is that, but most of the time it's much simpler, right? It's really not a bunch of guys in tuxedos.
Yeah. It's a dinner event that is going to be designed around the cigars, usually with a brand partner and or a lounge host, and it's equal parts going to be social, educational, but also the main part, celebratory.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the reason why cigar dinners really work so well, is cigars really kind of give a night or the night a rhythm. Mm-hmm. It really is, you're not rushing, you're taking your time, you're pausing, you're enjoying the cigar, which really means you're enjoying dinner, and you're enjoying fellowship of those that are around you. And it really makes that night go from an event to something that's memorable.
Yes. And a cigar dinner, it really serves a lot of purposes, but we've got just a quick hit list we're going to run through. So the first one is, it's a reason to dress up a little bit. So even if it's just nice jeans.
Absolutely.
It's really easy to get stuck in an active wear mindset, state of mind, especially working from home for me. But it's nice to have those special nights to just dress up a little bit.
Absolutely.
It is a built-in community night, so you don't have to plan the social part. Everybody there knows what a cigar is, at least. Even if you get some people who don't smoke cigars, they are going completely with the knowledge that it is a cigar event. It gives you access also to new cigars. So sometimes they are early or exclusive or super limited edition.
Like this cigar and the Cigar Rebel. This cigar was produced about a year ago, maybe a little longer, aged for a minimum of 9 months once the final production was done. And it was designed specifically for this night. So this Stories number 2 cigar is a blend of 2 of our other cigars. Mm-hmm. And so the 800 of these, when they're gone, they're gone.
Yep. And the next thing is going to be learning without the homework. You are going to casually absorb all of that knowledge in that setting. And then, of course, the pace, like we talked about, you're forced to slow down, eat, talk, be present, maybe even meet somebody new. We have met new people that we still keep in contact with at Cigar Dinners.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I always hope that will happen even when we are hosting ours.
Yeah, we met 2 different couples this week. One that came in from Louisiana, one that came in from the other side of the state of Texas, and a great opportunity to connect with them. Just before we keep going, Lou, good to see you tonight, is smoking the box press DBL Maduro, which is a great, he said it's a local find. Leslie's smoking the Rocky Patel Disciple, and so very excited about that for her to be smoking. It's a great cigar. Cigar dinners are really one of those few places where cigar culture feels like hospitality and not just consumption. It can sometimes feel like you go into a lounge, there's something to do, you've got to buy all those kind of things. But when it comes to cigar dinners, it really does create the scenario where there's a good opportunity to just have a great, hospitable, enjoyable evening.
Yeah, it's really not a buy this. It's more of a welcome here, sit, eat, and smoke. And, if the host is good, then you leave feeling like you're getting not just a meal, but also an entire story with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. And if it's a good host, you really feel like you've got the story and not just the meal, as you said. You really got this overall amazing opportunity. In other times, depending on where it is and how it is, it might be the event of the year or the month where you're at.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's 100% true.
So let's next talk about the best cigar dinners, how they're structured without feeling structured.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't want it to be overproduced.
Right. And honestly, talking about the flow, because the best cigar dinners have a very subtle structure.
Absolutely. So one of the things, as Lou said, questions, you guys smoke while eating. I feel like I need to be doing either one or the other. I'm going to tell you, I absolutely love to smoke a cigar with a great steak. We had fajitas served, both beef and chicken, at the event on Saturday night. And I had a McAuliffe green lit most of that time while eating. I maybe I was in between cigars when I went and got food because I didn't want to blow smoke. They kind of had set up a fajita bar catering company. I didn't want to blow smoke on the staff that was serving it. So I went and got my cigar. We get my food, and after I sit down, I ate for maybe 5 minutes, and then I lit the cigar and finished my meal with it. But it's definitely one of those things. What about you, Mel?
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoy the first time I ever smoked a cigar with a meal. It was a little foreign to me. I wasn't right. I didn't have an expectation for it really. But I think the first time I ever had a cigar with a meal was we paired it with a steak one time. And it was a great experience.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Leslie says I like doing one or the other. At the expo, I'll relight my cigar after I eat. I totally get that. It depends on if the meal's just fantastic. Sometimes I'll forget about the cigar.
Yeah.
I've also had a fantastic cigar that I kind of slowed down on the meal, but I do like eating both. And so there's the opportunity to do a couple of different ways there. And really what's best for you is what's right, if that makes sense. So as we talked about the structure, you don't notice the structure when the event is done well because you're having fun, but it's really there, right?
Yeah. So really we should talk about the flow, because the best cigar dinners have, like you said, a subtle structure. The flow, I would say we spend a lot of time planning and making sure you don't notice that it is moving exactly how we want it to.
Yeah, absolutely. So over the last several years, we've hosted several at our home, and then at Story Cigars and Lounge, and we've hosted one with some of our partners. And other than the ones that we've hosted, we've really seen kind of two different type of common styles when attending as a guest. And so we've seen the after dinner cigar, the classic eat first then smoke, as everybody's kind of talking. That, have one before the meal and after. I can't eat and smoke at the same time. And then don't want ash in the place of pepper. Definitely get that. So the most common, like I said, is this before and after, which is the classic eat first then smoke. The other type is cigar paired with the course. It's more advanced, it's more paced, and it's often in an outdoor setting where they're pairing, here's the cigar for hors d'oeuvres, here's the cigar for the main course, and here's the cigar for dessert.
Yes, absolutely. And for after dinner cigar events, we have seen a fairly common rhythm for the night. So you have your arrival and your welcome drink. There's some meeting and some mingling, usually who you're going to be smoking with that evening. There's the first course, which potentially has no cigars just yet. There's the brand and the host introduction. So that's going to be usually short and sweet, just a quick pop in from whoever is doing those introductions. Then you've got your main course, and then hopefully you have some dessert and coffee in there. And then there is the cigar portion, which is often going to be dedicated outside or in a designated smoking area.
And so in that kind of event, the cigar portion is really where the night becomes more memorable. But the key is that the cigar moment lands better when really the dinner portion was paced out as well with the scenario, that it's not rushed. Not everybody's rushing to the event, to the cigar time, right? That the courses are paced out well. All of those things are done intentionally.
Yes, and most events are going to choose an after dinner because it keeps the meal clean, and a lot of people believe it keeps people who are non-smokers that are there from potentially suffering through if they're not a fan of the way cigars smell.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be the case, really, in either type of event, either the after dinner event or the curated pairing event. When done and planned well, it doesn't have to be something that a significant other or a buddy that's attending with you suffers through if they're not a cigar smoker.
Right. And that's a pro move in the after dinner event to make the cigar moment special outside with after dinner drinks in the open air. So
yeah, absolutely. And on the other hand, you have events like the one we participated in Alaska a few years back that's a little different. It's designed as a pairing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was, like you said, it was more of a cigar pairing event that was designed for the cigar to drive really the pace and the rhythm.
Absolutely. And why don't you briefly kind of walk us through how that night went?
Yes, so we talked all about pace and rhythm. You could tell they had really planned it out. We had our arrival and our welcome drink, and then we did a petite cigar and mingle with the light hors d'oeuvres. We had the host intro. Again, it was short but included the night cigars and also kind of the pace for that evening, so everyone was on the same page. We had our second cigar with the dinner course, and then we kind of had a little bit of a rest period after that to allow dinner to settle, which is important if you have time to do that in your event.
Absolutely.
And then we did the third cigar, which had dessert and coffee in there. And then we had the closing remarks. So some of the instances, there were more time for another cigar, depending on the location or venue. And I would also say during dinner, because it was more of a pairing dinner with the cigar event, I think we had the chef come out. He kind of walked everybody through. They walked us through the cigars, which was cool. And then the chef came out and walked everybody through the different pairings and why they thought it would be a good pairing with that cigar.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you talked about two different styles, the kind of before and after dinner versus the pairing curated. I've really enjoyed both. And then there's almost a little bit of this third that I'll go into in a minute. But I'm working right now. We're working on really planning a pairing style dinner kind of at the moment. But there's this other third kind. It's a flow that's a little bit more like this. And I'm going to look at my notes because check in. And so this is what we did on Saturday night. It's a little bit like what they do at this New England Cigar Expo. Is you check in and you get all of your cigars. You light the cigar of your choice throughout the night. Dinner's served at some point. Dessert served at another point. Entertainment can really be throughout, but the main event is really a little bit closer toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
And what I prefer, like how we've done it stories, is at a certain point of that night, we at least introduce and talk about a single cigar and then encourage people to cut and light that so that at that point in the evening, everybody's kind of smoking the same thing. On Saturday, we had live music for an hour and 20 minutes, and then we had a welcome, and then we had someone who sponsored the McAuliffe Green, and so they got up and talked for about 3 to 5 minutes, encouraged people to smoke. So by like 6:40-ish, the 100 people in the room were all smoking McAuliffe Green together, and then about 9:30, the night kind of wraps up. And that's kind of, so you kind of have the before, after dinner, the pairing, and then you kind of have what I call the freestyle, but the event is done well.
Right. And that third style that you mentioned, that's a very popular option. And we, like you said, we have hosted and been a part of several, either as the cigar brand or vendor for that style. And really, no matter what style that you're choosing, they can all be fantastic and they can all be a great night in their own way as long as they're all executed properly.
Absolutely. And fantastic is the goal, right? You're really trying to create an event. And what really separates a great cigar dinner from a mediocre one is, was it fantastic?
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, what makes the cigar dinner great? And you rebels out there, you might have some different ideas or suggestions on what would make a cigar dinner great, but these are kind of my thoughts from my experiences. And I'm just going to go through a quick list, is that the host keeps the talking short and the energy warm and, exciting.
Yeah, we went to one cigar dinner where the brand guy got up there, and we were actually just happened to be at the lounge. We weren't really a part of the event, and the owner was like, hey, why don't y'all come sit in? He talked for a good 45 minutes before we ever lit a cigar. That is just too long.
For a cigar event, I agree. The second one would be that these cigars are accessible. They're not just ultra rare flex sticks. And I think that's important because, like, while we have these, we had some that we were, they got in their pack for free. And then we also sold some of them. And once they're gone, they're gone. But everyone had an opportunity to buy more. Because I think if you had a cigar dinner, unless it is kind of brought out that way, like, hey, we're doing this ultra rare, you're never going to see them again cigars, a lot of times people are going to want more of what they have smoked at that night for a lot of reasons. The memories, the experience, they're going to want to be able to have that cigar again if possible, or at least one of them if you're getting multiple cigars.
Absolutely. And there's a time to have, like, hey, we got this rare Opus X, or we get this really rare something blended. We had a while back CAO flathead that was blended several years ago. A few guys got together, grilled a steak, and had that together. You're never going to find that again.
Right.
There's not a wrong way to do that. But if you're doing an event, you're inviting buddies over, or you're doing it as far as, hey, should I go to this or not? You want something that they can enjoy and get again.
Yes. The next one is going to be that the food is good and timed well. Sometimes we go to events, cigar related and also not cigar related, but the food is not very good. You're not going for the food or expecting anything from it. You are really just going for the atmosphere and the vibes. And when we were doing our first anniversary party, that was something that was very important to me. I was like, the food has to be good. If we are advertising it as part of the experience, it's got to be something everyone remembers being good.
Yeah, absolutely. And the vibe, right? The overall food has to be excellent because that sets the pace for, like, we heard it Saturday night. My gosh, this food is fantastic. Like all night long, like the bar setup was great. The ease of entrance. It was 38 degrees outside when our event started. We're in a tent that we had. I brought one of those hygrometers with me. Our tent was 70 degrees, which was fantastic. And then the food was good. So everybody was warm. They were jovial. They had an open bar. They had tickets to get drinks. And then the food was excellent.
Yes. The next one, like we've talked about, there's going to be kind of a clear smoking plan, where and when, so you will know when you can have that first cigar, can you smoke throughout, all those things. The vibe is inclusive, but new cigar smokers don't feel dumb or overwhelmed or like they don't belong there. I think that's really important. And then also that the event will leave room for conversation. It's not just going to be nonstop announcements or even maybe a sales pitch the entire time you're there. I think people come to a cigar dinner wanting to enjoy the atmosphere, the vibes, have cigars, talk with their friends.
Yeah, absolutely. The pacing is important. And if you ever been to a cigar event where the speech goes on forever, people start checking their phone. It's kind of in a way where the screen is screaming, please stop talking. And here's the reality. Cigars are slow. The speech doesn't have to be, though.
Yeah, and those words are true. I think at any cigar event you're doing, the goal you would hope throughout the evening is, like when you're at the movies, you don't want to get up and go to the bathroom and leave because you don't want to miss anything. I think that's really important, is you don't want to leave and miss anything or feel like you should because you're bored or.
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's the practical truth. At most cigar dinners, the pairing is more of a balance and a sequence than the perfect match. And part of that balance is having the right amount of talking, and that's not always more, it's often less. Like we had on Saturday night, each of the conversation points broken up into 5-minute sections. And we had 4 of them throughout the 3-hour event until we played the game and gave away prizes.
Right. I mean, the pairing basically can be, does all of this, does the cigar taste good with the time? Does it taste good with the meal? Does it taste good with what we're talking about? Does it pair well?
Absolutely. Dwayne says less is more. I agree with the lengthy sales pitch. We all know what we enjoy. Absolutely. I want to know if they're telling us, Dwayne, hey, this is the cigar you're smoking. Let me tell you about it. In that kind of brief piece, kind of like we do at the beginning of the podcast. Okay, here's the cigar we're smoking tonight, right? And some places do it, and we're like, hey, this is the price. And you write in the box, it's this price. That doesn't bother me at all. But when it's this longer thing where they're trying to tell you their life story in that event, it gets a little difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so talk about pairing the right cigar with the meal, Mel.
Yeah, so I think that's super important, because if you are going to serve a monster full-bodied cigar after like a delicate fish course and before a light dessert, then that's really not pairing. That is just going to blow out your palate for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the idea, is if you're doing a pairing or a before and after, you've really got to make sure you're doing a good job of pairing something that just about everybody can enjoy. Now, the beauty of the flex event is you can put some mild and some strong in there, and then the person can kind of choose what they want to do. But in the pairing approach, like we were doing fajitas, steak, and chicken with rice and beans. So when we curated the cigar pack, we made sure there were 18 cigars, 16 of them were on a caliphs, 2 of those are elevated humidor, that we had some mild and some more full-bodied cigars in there, and so someone could kind of really do that. if you're doing the pairing menu, you might want to contrast something sweet with a little bit of spice. And you might want to use the cigar as a bridge flavor to pair with the coffee or the chocolate of the dessert or a caramel or maybe the oakiness of a bourbon you're having to pair well with a good Habano. It really is just about making the right choices, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good time to give listeners a quick, easy pairing sheet that they can remember if they're doing any sort of event.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with food.
Yeah. So rich food is going to, you want to do a richer cigar. Spicy food, avoid the ultra pepper cigars, especially if you're having that spicy peppery food. Pepper plus pepper gives you can get very harsh very quickly. Desserts, so cigars with cocoa and coffee have some warm spice notes to that. Coffee that is medium, cigars will feel a little bit sweeter. Whiskey or bourbon is going to be bold cigars. They're going to feel rounder. And then if you're unsure, you can always go with a medium because mediums are the social lubricant of cigar dinners. It's usually a pretty safe bet that a medium will kind of satisfy any cigar smoker out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to talk pacing for just a minute, and then you can jump into cigar etiquette after that.
Yeah.
When we talk about pacing of the menu, you want to make sure that you don't overpace it. We did a cigar event a while back where the other partner on that event wanted 5 cigars throughout the event. And they're like, we want to light cigar 1 at this time, light cigar 2 at this time, light cigar. The problem with that type of pacing event is everyone smokes at a different speed.
Yep.
And the other thing is cigar people, like many people, it doesn't matter how big you print the sign, some of them are not going to read it, right? Like we were in New Orleans for the Premium Cigar Expo, and we drove to the parking garage, and there was a line of cars. They kept backing up and leaving. So I drove up in order to back up. When I got closer, on the sign it said, drive up close to the door, it will open. All those people didn't read it. It was printed in like 4-foot tall letters, and no one read it. Something on a card in a cigar bag may not get written.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a pacing event, you got to tell them at check-in.
Yep.
Hey, we're lighting this cigar. Hey, here's your dessert. Here's your hors d'oeuvre cigar, and make it a petite Corona or Corona, and give them enough time to finish it, and then go to the main course. So pacing is everything when it comes to the before-after dinner. It's definitely everything when it comes to the pairing night, where this cigar goes with this appetizer, this cigar goes with this main course, this cigar goes with this dessert and coffee.
Yep.
So pacing's pivotal. And you want to make sure that it's a slow enough pace that your slower cigar smoker can enjoy it. And if somebody smokes a little faster, they can always light something in between, set it down, and come back to it.
Absolutely. I think one of the worst cigar dinner mistakes that you can make is trying to keep up with someone who smokes very quickly, just because it can create chaos, and maybe the person who smokes a little bit slower is going to feel like they've got to keep up, or they've got to put that cigar down and start the next one before they're ready.
Absolutely. And Alex made a great point. Pairing cigars with food is more common than we think, like that summer barbecue that we bring cigars to. It's not always fancy dinner environment. And I agree. We're talking kind of the structure if you're going to do a event. But one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute is how do you host one at home? We've done several at our house, Alex, where it's just, hey, I'm smoking some ribs. Do y'all want to come over and bring cigars? Right. And then Leslie talked about she loves pairing cigars with beverages, but haven't gotten to the point of pairing it with food. I'm telling you, desserts are fantastic and hors d'oeuvres are fantastic, even if you don't want to do it in the main meal portion. Richard kind of agreed. Like, I'm going to tell you something. I saw some of Richard's cookies. I mean, I'm telling you, I could hammer some cigars with those cookies. Mel made cookies the other day. I sat on the deck and ate several with the cigar that I was smoking. It was fantastic. Good to have you on tonight, Richard. And so it's just one of those things that you've got to develop a palate for it. Alex said and this is a great comment. I'm not good at pairing with alcohol other than beers and wines. And he just got his younger brother into cigars, and he's a huge whiskey bourbon guy. We can give you a lot of examples for that. We have a big bourbon chapter here at Stories. But one of the things is it just takes time to do, and sometimes it's trial and error. When we first started talking about pairing cigars and food was for Guy Fieri's new restaurant at Hurrah's Casino. They asked us to blend a cigar for his opening night. Well, what are they serving?
Right.
And so we kind of recreated a few things and tested it with the cigar blend that we normally do for those events to make sure it would work well.
Yep.
And we actually made it a little milder.
Mm-hmm.
So the cigar, we left out the Ligero actually.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want the cigar to overpower the tasting menu they were doing that night.
Yep, 100%. And I mean, that was, how many, was that
3.5
4
years ago, 4 years
now?
ago.
Yeah.
So August of 21, 22? August of 22.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mel, tell us a little about cigar dinner etiquette if you're going to a cigar dinner or you are building a cigar dinner out. What are the unwritten rules?
Yeah, so the top cigar dinner etiquette rules, they will save you. These are going to be some quick points that are going to save you from getting the side eye. So these are kind of the unwritten rules, and these are all going to be pretty different than what we talked about last week when we were talking about 2026 lounge rules. But for dinners, you don't want to smoke other cigars that are not provided that night. Normally, you are going to get, hopefully, if the event is planned well, you're going to get enough cigars to smoke for the entirety of that evening. And I think it's important to smoke what's there for that night, just to go with the vibes, the pacing, all of those things. Don't dominate the brand rep or anyone who is there as a special guest. They are there. They love to be there. They love to connect and talk with you, but they're not there to be your therapist. And most likely there are a lot of other people there that want to interact and maybe meet with them, say hello, nice to see you, great for being here.
Absolutely.
Don't review out loud constantly. So if someone's like, oh, this is earthy, this is barnyard, I think everyone is welcome to their opinion, and palate is subjective, but you don't want to make a grand show if you are not getting those things. You don't have to agree with them, but you might be picking up something different, and there's a nice way to say it, I would say.
Yeah, and so people are starting to talk about the flavors they're getting, but I mentioned when we were in Alaska, this has been almost 5 years now, at Fifth Avenue Cigars. They're doing an event we went to, and there was a guy sitting across from us, and almost every draw, he was going, all right, guys, I'm getting this. And then you take a bite and says, all right, now I'm going to take a bite of this. He wasn't the host. He wasn't the chef. And it was great, but I was trying to kind of listen to the conversation between the brand owner and the chef because we were doing an event with them later. So I was trying to learn and get to know these guys. And it was brutal.
Yeah, it was a hard one. The next one is going to be ask before taking pictures of strangers. We live in a very public social media world, but not everybody wants to be on social media. Not everybody wants their picture on social media. So that is always good to ask, especially if they are your new best friend. Make sure you ask before putting their photo online. Tip the staff well while you're there. They are working hard in a smoky, busy environment, especially if it's someone working the bar. They usually do not have any free time for the duration of the event. Anyone who is providing food, whether serving or buffet style, people who are checking you in, any of those things. The next one is don't turn the smoking area into a smoke cannon. So, puff slower, pace yourself. We talk about cigar pace all the time and in every aspect of cigar smoking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last one is also going to be to keep the ash contained. So try not to do any creative ash destinations. Also, depending on the location, it might look really easy to ash on the ground, but a lot of times events that you do, whether it's outside or inside, you have to go through and clean up even the floor when you're done and before you leave. So keeping ash contained in the ashtray or wherever people are collecting the ash is also important.
Absolutely. So let's jump to some comments real quick, and then let's jump down into conversation on maybe I want to host a cigar dinner when we get done with these ashtrays. I mean, these ashtrays. We're talking about ashes, and I saw you look at the ashtrays. Sorry, guys. So comments. Richard said, Rebels, I made some cookies for the owner of HVC and was live in studio with 2 guys. I watched him open the bag and start nibbling on the cookies. And he stopped the show and started raving, which I love that. Absolutely wonderful. Tony said that he hasn't found a cigar that he doesn't like pairing with bourbon. However, they do impact the flavors you get from both. And that's a great point, which Dwayne agreed with that. And then Richard said, how about a good chocolate flavor went with the HVC fresh out of the oven, broadleaf? I absolutely agree. I love pairing chocolates. We actually do a tasting seminar around training your palate. And we use something salty, something creamy. So that's typically a pretzel, a nice creamy smoked Gouda, and a smoked cheddar. We then do a chocolate with 3 different types of chocolate: milk, semi-sweet, and dark chocolate. And then we do something very savory, and I typically do smoked burnt-ends or smoked pork burnt-ends, and really bring that out. And it allows you to start picking up flavors, but it teaches you to pair and what you might enjoy with a cigar. And so I do love doing those. Lou said he likes chocolate with cigars. Absolutely love that. Talking a little bit back on the topic before we go to break here, just want to talk, what if one of our listeners says, hey, I want to host a cigar dinner at home? What's the next steps?
Yeah, I think if you want to do a cigar dinner at home, you should 100% not be intimidated. Do it. Enjoy the night. Invite anyone that you think would have a good time. And we're going to give you the Cigar Rebel blueprint for a night people will actually remember and that's easy to replicate.
Yeah, so and here's the main thing. It's a lot of, like Alex said earlier, this is not a luxury 5-course night. Now, you can make it that. I love to cook. I love to make an appetizer. I love to make a meal, a puree that goes with it. And then Mel is an amazing dessert cook, so let her make the dessert. But it can also simply be, I'm going to throw some burgers and brats on the grill. It can be, I'm going to smoke a roast. It can be, I'm going to make lasagna. It doesn't have to be this 5-course meal.
Yes, you definitely need to have good food, a plan, and then a comfortable smoking setup.
Absolutely.
So a couple extra quick points for you. You want to keep it small. 6 to 12 people is usually the sweet spot, especially if you're doing something at your own home. You want to choose one feature cigar. So also some optional backups like we talked about. If you think that the event's going to be 2 to 3 hours, have enough cigars for that time. Of course, if people linger at your house and stay all day, all night, you don't necessarily have to provide cigars for people to stay till 2 in the morning, but at least for when your actual cigar event is.
Yeah, and then when it comes to food, pick a simple menu, maybe one main dish that doesn't require you to vanish into the kitchen every few minutes, right?
Yep.
I've been to a buddy's house. He wanted to do a dinner and a tasting menu that night. He was outside serving us and telling us about the dish. And then we didn't sing for 20 minutes. Yeah. That's not, it feels awkward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. You want to create a smoking zone, so patio or a garage with ventilation, outdoor heaters if it's a cool time of year, fans if it's warm. You want to make sure there's ashtrays, cutters, lighters.
Yeah, and then kind of build the arc of the night, right? How's the evening going to go? A rival drink, maybe a cigar to start with, or say, hey, if you brought something, go ahead and light something up. We're going to light the main cigar, or I brought this cigar out. We'll all light together when everybody's here. You want to kind of have dinner, maybe dessert. I like to have coffee or a chai for people to enjoy afterwards.
Yeah.
And then after that, you transition to cigar time.
Yeah, and that's kind of, add a meaningful touch in there. So you could do a 60-second why I picked this cigar moment while you're getting everybody's feedback. And then the last one is just enjoy the evening with your friends. Do some nice lighting if you can, low music. And after dinner, especially if you're doing one at your home, don't get too particular about a schedule. You can open up the night because, again, it's at your house. So feel free to celebrate at your house how you'd want to.
So the Kilt Man's here. I love seeing you on, John. Great you're here. Leslie said, Tony, do you have a bourbon of choice? I can answer that for him. I know Tony's bourbon of choice. But the problem is Tony has bourbons of choice.
Yeah.
I'll let him answer that in the comments. But when you're doing the cigar dinner at home with your friends or your buddies, if you want to go extra without going expensive, here's a couple of things you can do that's super easy. Have a coffee bar, maybe have a whiskey selection with maybe a low, a moderate, and a high proof. Leslie was asking Tony, it's the perfect setup for this. If we're going to Tony's house to smoke at his deck, he'll often have 2 or 3 or 4 bottles out there that are stuff that's like, hey, these complement each other or these contrast each other. And he'll kind of set that up. Another thing we did on an event that I absolutely loved and really, truly believe this is something that would make a cigar event unique is have a trade table. So let people know ahead of time, hey, bring a cigar or two that you love, and we're all going to put them down on a sheet or a tray, and then at some point in the night after the main cigar or the dinner, then you go over there and you get to pick up the number of cigars you brought. So if you brought 2, pick up 2. If you brought 1, pick up 1. That way there's not a pressure for everybody to bring 2 or 3 cigars.
Right.
But it made it a really cool event. We ended up doing it on a couple of cruises the same year, and people have always loved that event.
I mean, I love the trade table. It's kind of like a secret Santa, but with better results. And I think also what I love when people are bringing cigars, a lot of times they're going to bring some of what their favorites are. So that was how I ended up smoking the Punch Signature was the first time, was by doing one of those trades. And it was a great cigar.
Absolutely. So Tony said it's a tough question. You can name a few go-tos. Willet, he said all. Buffalo Trace, craft small distilleries. Love finding small distilleries, which is great. Leslie said she hasn't tried Willet, but put it on a grocery list. Definitely worth putting on your grocery list. And if you can find a 6 or 7 year or older of the Willet, they're fantastic. They're all great, but those few extra years make for a spectacular smoke. Before we get into the next topic and go any further, we've got a lot more coming up after the break, but we're going to take a quick break.
We fell in love with cigars not because of the flavors or smoking experience or perceived status, but because it allows barriers to fall between other humans and build deeper connections. For that reason, we've been super intentional to curate a space where people can find community and enjoyment with others, and cigars just happen to be the way we're doing it. For that reason, we are thrilled to be the one and only cigar retail store and lounge in downtown Lufkin. A good story is one of the most powerful tools used to connect with another human. Sharing stories fades out differences and highlights similarities found in the details, or with the storyteller. Over the years, we have seen some of the best stories told over cigars, and thus, new friendships are made, passions shared, encouragement given, and so much more. The impact storytelling has on the human connection is why we've decided to name our store and lounge Stories. Because behind every good cigar and conversation is an even better story.
Source Elevate is a consulting firm that focuses on providing resources, insight, and experience to elevate your performances. Our team's 30-plus years of experiences in executive leadership positions provide the foundation of knowledge that we provide to our clients. Allow us to elevate your company's mission, vision, and objectives over short, mid, and long-term initiatives that drive results and source new opportunities.
As always, a thank you to our sponsors. Before we hop back into tonight's topic, let's take a look at upcoming shows.
Yeah, on next Monday night, we have the cigar rating system. Rating cigars is an art form, but there's a system. We're going to talk about all the different ways that different organizations rate cigars, and then we're going to give you the Cigar Rebel rating system and invite you to rate some cigars along with us.
Yes, that'll be awesome. January 26th, we are doing a cigar budget. So we are doing $5, $10, $20 cigars, and there's going to be a cigar for every budget. With that, we'll be smoking the Elevated Humidor Garage Force SE.
Yeah, that signature edition cigar is a $4 cigar in a Gordo 6x60. And so it's the perfect cigar to be smoking on a cigar budget night.
Yep.
February 2nd, can't believe we're talking February 2026 already. We're going to do car cigar. Tips on enjoying life's luxuries are on the go. For that night, we're going to be smoking something I smoke in my car often, the La Giana Maduro.
Yes, and then on February 9th, we are doing Love is in the Ash. So this is going to be a special Valentine's, Galentine's, or Guylentine's episode. And with that, we will be smoking the Red Anchor, which I think is going to be a phenomenal pairing with that episode.
Absolutely. So jumping right into, people have been asking us about how do we smoke the cigars along with you. We've had them listed. If you have them, you can get them at your local brick and mortar. That is our recommendation. However, if you want to have them show up at your door at the end of the month for the next month, we have launched the Rebel Pack. It is shipping monthly right around the 20th of the month. You can go out to elevatedhumidor.com, click on the Cigar Rebel, scroll down to the bottom, and subscribe. And that will be a monthly subscription. You'll get 5 cigars on months with 4 Mondays. You'll have 1 cigar for each show plus a bonus. For those 5 Monday months, you'll have 1 for each time. Do want to always let everybody know we do not sell the Elevated Humidor cigars on our website. We reserve that for our brick and mortar partners. If you do want to pick them up, you can pick them up at twoguyscigars.com. You can search Elevated, or you can go to the undergroundcigarshop.com and search Elevated. And both of them have a selection out there. We love absolutely sharing those. So a few comments quick before we jump into the topic is John, or the Kilt Man, said he loves Scotch, coffee, bourbon. All of those are definitely in my palette for cigars. And then Guinness, Lou mentioned Guinness as well. Currently sipping a Penelope Architect, which is a fantastic bourbon, great choice. And then Dwayne had mentioned earlier for the Cigar Rebel pack, so we can smoke along with the show. Thanks for hearing the background stories of the cigars. And then Leslie mentioned they hadn't tried that one either. At this point, they're going to end up with more liquids than solids on the grocery list. Absolutely true. That happens to us occasionally. But Mel, let's jump in here and let's talk about the Stories Cigar and Lounge opportunities that night. But Mel, why don't you take us and talk a little bit about the event?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that to talk about when we talk about the event is the amount of planning and setup that goes into it. So we end up planning this event. It is on our minds usually. I would say yesterday we were sitting on the porch having a cigar, and it was not our intention to start planning next year's, but I believe we started planning next year's while we were just sitting there. So you pretty much start planning for it right after it ends. And there is a lot of meetings that happen, a lot of backroom discussions that happen, and it is always 100% worth it to do. and then the event comes and it's here and it's amazing. And I would say Saturday, really having all that planning, the event was very smooth. I would say. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but it was
Absolutely.
very smooth.
Quick question. When we showed the pictures, did our mics drop? For those that are listening, I think all of our mics dropped off for a second. They made an update to our podcast software, and we're learning some of the updates. I apologize. So I was trying to show a few of the events. I will show here so that we had, I apologize for that. So I was sharing that this is really a picture of Mel and I without McAuliffe. Wanted to talk a little bit about the giveaways. We did give away just over $7,782 worth of prizes. This was one prize pack that someone got in our game. And then we did have a beautiful cake that was designed to match the cigar of the night, which was the McAuliffe Green. And so apologize for that drop off. We absolutely made a mistake there. And Leslie asked if you made the cake. So
I did not make the cake, no.
someone called Tracy Bakes did make that, and it was absolutely fantastic. I only took one bite because I was busy throughout the night. But talk about planning. We are already planning and making plans for Story's 3-year anniversary. We'll start making plans. I actually had a conversation. We've done a tent the last couple of years. And like I said earlier, it was 38 degrees out at one point, and we had the tent at 70. So the tent was doing really well. But bathrooms are always a trek to get to, or you got to take an elevator down in the building next to us. All those kind of things that would really be better if we had a venue.
Yeah.
And so we have found a venue that is interested in hosting an event. So our next event that Cigar Rebels will participate in is called Cigar Fest. It's an event we put on here locally. It's for Story Cigars and Lounge, Elevated Humidor, Cigar Rebels, and then about 5 to 8 of our vendor partners that we love to bring in. And so we're definitely going to be working on having Cigar Fest. And then if that goes well, the anniversary party will also take place there in January of next year. Richard said Tina could make that cake. I would love that. Love supporting people. Alex, I agree. You got to make your way out here. Says your anniversary is around the same time as my birthday. I'm going to hint to my husband it'd be a great birthday present. We agree.
Yeah, be an awesome present for both of you.
Yes, absolutely. So last night, let's just talk about the planning we did, the setup. It took all day long to get it set up for a 5 to 9 o'clock event. Tables, chairs, the tent, the whole deal. Mel spends a lot of time planning and coordinating with vendors. I do a lot of cigar buying. Our other owners prepare the bar and setup and graphics. It's really an amazing event.
Yeah.
But the main big thing is the event price was a connoisseur ticket for $185, or you could get a connoisseur ticket plus a companion for $210. But the connoisseur pack came with $168 worth of cigars. You got 19 cigars at the event, 2 limited editions you'll never see again, although you could buy them at the shop, at the store we had set up at the back of the tent. And then for the connoisseur ticket, it came with the same 19 cigars plus a companion. You got a branded Stories wine glass or bourbon glass. You got the cigar pack. You got a meal. We had live entertainment from a recording artist. We had a game that played. Like I said, we gave away almost $8,000 worth of stuff. It really was one of those cool, fun things to do.
And included dinner as well.
Oh, dinner.
About the dinner and the desserts. And I would say in our planning, sometimes that is what takes a huge focus, is how do we keep the tickets as reasonable as possible while giving everybody the best experience, the most cigars, everything. So that, I think we planned that for a while to try and this year to critique that and kind of get that out.
So Dwayne said it was the Southeastern Cigar Expo in Texas. Absolutely. Richard said he was in Indiana first week of August. The Rocky Patel Burn event, yeah, that's going to be a great event out there. I agree. And then when we get to the special guests for the night, like Al McAuliffe was there. This is the second year he's been with us, and it's always great that he comes and shares what's going on with McAuliffe. We had some of the McAuliffe White that he gave out and gave us some to give out as prizes. As a part of our game, we're able to buy people out by giving them McAuliffe Whites.
Yeah.
We had a few people sell out pretty quickly because they wanted that cigar that's not going to be released for a few more months. And so definitely a cool opportunity to have that. We have started talking about who we might want to have the special guests next year. Al's already said he wants to be back, so it'll probably be Al along with others. Tony says you guys need to make it down to the Cigar Fest. It's a phenomenal time. That is a great night.
Yeah.
So tell us about the flow of the night a little bit, Mel, just before we wrap up here in a few minutes.
Yes. So I would say for flow of the night, talking about it, our check-in technically started at 4:30. In our meeting, probably 2 days before that we had with all the owners, I was like, people are going to be ready at 3:30 to check in, because you have your check-in time, but a lot of times people who are doing these special events, they've gotten a babysitter, they've traveled in from out of town. They are ready to start celebrating as early as possible.
Absolutely.
And I had the first person ask me, because I happened to be down here at the lounge for a few minutes. The first person asked me at 3:37 if they were allowed to go check in. And I was like, give us maybe 10 more minutes and you can head on down there. So first was the check-in. And then right when you walked in, we had a great flow of, we had the bar kind of in the corner that was super easy to get to. We had the store next to that. And we had probably about an hour of a pregame time. So people were getting drinks. They were hanging out with other cigar enthusiasts there. They were taking pictures. They were shopping, getting their table.
And then at 5 o'clock, recording artist Zach Mayberry kicked off an original set that lasted about an hour and 20 minutes, which was a phenomenal set.
It was great.
I don't know how we do an event without Zach again.
Right.
It was absolutely spectacular. And I don't know how we get away with it either, because at the end of the night, he told one of the other owners, I'm in next year.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and get me a date. And so we're excited about that.
Yep.
And then it flowed into welcomes and dinner.
Yep.
And then time with Al McAuliffe.
Yep.
Q&A from the audience. Then we did dessert and opened the shop up again.
Yep.
We went ahead and pre-sold about half the tickets for our Valentine's event, a Velvet Valentine. And then we entered in the giveaways. First, we give away from the cigar purchases. And by the way, something we didn't mention earlier, Mel, we had boxes of McAuliffe cigars, 5 packs of McAuliffe cigars, 5 packs of Elevated Humidor, and 5 packs of the LEs blended just for this event.
Yep.
I mean, you and I were in the DR and working in our factory in Nicaragua almost a year ago to have the cigars ready for Saturday night.
Yeah.
And every cigar was 80% off.
Yes.
And for every 25 cigars you bought, you won 10 tickets to win a bottle of one of the bottles of Willet or the other giveaways. Then the main game, and we gave away all the other prizes, including the BTAC George T. Stagg, which was awesome.
Yes.
So what was your overall thought on the nights?
Honestly, I thought it went great. Even since we have done it once before, you always start kind of comparing, or at least I do. How did it compare to last year's? I feel like we actually gave more away this year. And I think because we had a year of doing it under our belts already, we were all a little bit more comfortable, and I feel like it flowed a little bit better because we've all done it before. But I was really happy with how the night went. I was also very grateful and humbled that when the event ended, we had a lot of our members stick around and they helped us clean everything up, which was awesome. It was not a requirement. That is not part of what you pay for in the ticket, but they wanted to. And I love that community that they were just, hey, how do we help? Because we had about 40 minutes to tear everything down before the people were going to come and collect the tent. So I think it was a great evening. I got to interview Al, and that is always a good time. I think we've talked about how we met Al McAuliffe in another podcast, and So it is always very fun when I get to sit down with him and have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys are talking a lot about the difference of different cigar events. And Dwayne said he would love to see you do live rolling at next year's anniversary party. I don't know if there's time for that, but maybe during the pregame we could have something set up. We've talked about doing a live rolling on this show. We've done some other things and tastings for the Cigar Rebel podcast, but we have done hosting cigar events where we do what we call Cigar School, where we're live rolling cigars and talk about them. And it's definitely one of those things that is fun. That's really a lot of what we do for Caesars Entertainment, is we go do live rolling and talk about regions and growing and tobacco. And so maybe a good opportunity to do that. And then finally, Leslie said that she has good friends in Liberty and Livingston, which is funny because Livingston is not that far from us at all in order for them to visit both of those. And so as we talk through tonight, we've gone a little over time. It's about an hour and 5 minutes or so. Really want to thank all of you guys for joining us today. If you liked the episode, please leave us a review. Share with your cigar friends, and hit us up with any topics that you would love for us to dive into. Like Richard last week talked about cigar flavor versus cigar strength. So I went out, I knew we had it on our list. We didn't actually have it scheduled. So Richard, that is scheduled now here for in a few weeks. We already have some guests lined up, so I had to kind of postpone that out a little bit. But here in the next 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to do a night called Flavor Intensity versus Strength. And that's going to be the episode because one of you guys asked about it.
Yeah.
So drop us a line.
Yep.
And if you're watching or listening on the replay, go ahead and comment here on YouTube or wherever you're getting your podcast, #ReplayFam, and let us know what you were enjoying, what you've enjoyed about the show, or maybe if you have a topic that you'd like us to go over.
Yeah. And I think with all that being said, Kevin and I have both kind of dropped hints earlier. We always kind of evaluate the year after if we are going to do it again. And even after this one, we had people like next year. Like, well, if we do it again next year, and then we kind of already had started planning it a little bit, even on Sunday. So I would say it is pretty positive that we will be doing it again for a year 3. And there will be just one key difference, which will be ticket timings, if you want to talk about that.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the big differences, ticket timing for next year's. Normally we launch them the first week of November. This year we are going to launch table sales where you can buy a whole table to reserve a table with one of the owners of the cigar brands that will be in attendance in July. And then in August, single tickets will go on sale till they're sold out. There's only about 120 tickets that will be available. So once they're sold, they'll be gone. And our goal is to kind of get those sold in July, August, September, so that we can plan food and curate a little bit better. But the main reason is it's tough, and people told us it's tough to buy tickets in November, December while they're buying Christmas and paying for travel. So several people asked us, hey, would you move those ticket sales up so I can purchase it a little bit earlier? Asked and listened.
Yeah. And that's where each year we always try to improve things. We try to change a few things up to keep things interesting. And I would say we are 2 for 2 that we were sold out the first year that we did this, and also the second year. And I would say that I'm hoping and thinking we will sell out again for the third. So I actually love that we're bumping those tickets back a little bit, because it won't be a surprise for anyone in that November, December timeframe.
Absolutely. Alex says, can we talk about how to bring others into the cigar culture? That's a great topic. We actually do have that in our notes. Somebody else brought it up. I don't have it scheduled in the schedule, but now that we've got a second request, we'll bump that up on the priority.
Yep.
We try and schedule out 4 months, and then we move stuff around as guests can and can't make it on. But really appreciate you being on with us tonight, guys. That's our show. Next week, we're going to be jumping in the cigar rating system. We'll hope that you'll join us, give us feedback. I love all the chat live. Again, you can find us here on YouTube every Monday night at 7, on Facebook or Instagram at Cigar Rebels, and you can always subscribe and click notify me so you don't miss any episodes. And we're really excited. We have a lot of great things coming up in 2026. We've got some petite casts that are being scheduled. Those will air recordings throughout the week to give you a little bit of insight. And so we're really excited about that. Appreciate you guys. And it's going to be a great week keep your cigars lit.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like Kevin said, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow cigar lovers. We have seen a lot of you guys sharing us to your fellow cigar lovers, and we appreciate that, especially going into 2026. And we will see you next Monday. I'm excited about next Monday's topic. But until then, as Kevin said, keep your cigar lit, your ash long, and your palate curious.
Night, guys. Good night, Rebels.